a better place.
Thank
Hope
you.
to get the chance to see you again soon. If there's 3 things that you leave here remembering today about Committee for Greenfoothills, it's these 3. 1, we believe that every child deserves to have access to an experience in nature within 10 minutes from home. 2, we believe that our elected officials should be talking about protecting nature and fighting climate change with the same energy and fervor as they talk about building housing and fixing our traffic problems. And 3, Committee for Greenfoothills is working towards a tomorrow where we're not needed and nature doesn't need protecting. So I'm Medeiros. I'm the Executive Director of Committee for Greenfoothills. I got my start as an advocate for open space as a teenager when there was a development ballot measure that was on the ballot to allow development on a steeper grade of hillside in Fremont. And I joined a group thanks to an adult who brought me along, and we went out to Trader Joe's and collected signatures, put out flyers, spread the word, turned the vote out, and we won, protecting hillsides for future generations in Fremont. And that experience of wow, people organizing against all odds can make a difference, and I was hooked. I went on to, I was in the Interact Club in high school, and connected to that, started the school's recycling program at San Jose State, stuck to recycling and did a lot of work in organizing around recycling and waste, directed the school's environmental studies, or environmental resource center, and when there was a development threat, when I found out about a development threat to a 7,000 acre piece of land in South San Jose, it's called Coyote Valley. It's the closest point between the Santa Cruz Mountains and the Mount Diablo Range. Found out about this development threat and knew I had to get involved. So joined a group, and very quickly I saw the most effective speaker at all the city council meetings who knew his stuff. They listened to him, and every time, he was spot on, and it was a Committee for Greenfoothills advocate. And that was 10 years ago. Little did I know that 10 years later I would be asked to apply to become the Executive Director of Committee for Greenfoothills at the age of 27. It was pretty exciting and such an honor. And I've been there ever since, and I love it. It's a fabulous organization.
Switched on. Okay, I'll do it from here.
Okay, cool. I'll just snap. So, like me, I drove up I-280 this morning. How many of you were on I-280? So, I'm sure all of you, when you travel along this road, you appreciate the wild and undeveloped lands to the west, which is such a stark contrast between all of the land to the east. It was a threat to these foothills and our peninsula foothills that prompted the founding of Committee for Greenfoothills back in 1962. In the 1950s, Stanford University expressed its intention to annex and develop 254 acres of land, and a group of residents of Palo Alto organized to stop them. So to stop scenes like these from scarring our peninsula foothills. So fearful that urban sprawl would creep up along those hills, in 1962, a group of 27 concerned peninsula residents came together and formed our organization to give these hills a voice. Thanks to the founders and the work of Committee for Greenfoothills ever since, those hills remain largely wild and open for enjoyment. And a quick point I'll say that I think is really something I'm very proud of is we actually played a huge role in the placement of I-280. Back in the 1950s, the plan was to have it go right along Crystal Springs, and it was Committee for Greenfoothills and the Sierra Club who engaged and pushed for the slightly further east ridge route, which protected the scenic and recreation corridor. Otherwise, this would have been about 20,000 homes along these hills. So over the last 50 years, Committee for Greenfoothills has led many key campaigns across the San Mateo and Santa Clara counties, not just in the peninsula, including a 4 decades long battle against the tenacious Caltrans to get the approval of the double slide tunnel. What was proposed for and expected to be built for about 2 decades was a 7-mile freeway bypass in Montero, which would have just been growth inducing. It wasn't needed, and the tunnel actually ended up being the same cost, if not a little bit cheaper, and it protected all of the hillsides around it. So as you go through the double slide tunnel between Montero and Pacifica, and you can thank Committee for Greenfoothills, and that opened in 2012. So that victory prevented sprawl and scenes like this from replacing settings like this. And back in the 1950s, 1960s, what I tell people is what was seen as inevitable was basically LA-style development. There were proposals the plan was to fill in the bay south of the Barton Bridge, and there was going to be a small remnant lake in the middle. Land was being sold underwater. The San Bruno Mountain was being blocked off and filling in the bay. The entire Highway 1, it was going to be totally sprawled from San Francisco to Santa Cruz. All of the smaller, this is one of our advocates, Alice Highway 92, 84, these were going to be major highways. Our forest, where we are right now, all of this was going to be developed. It was a very different time, and it was groups like Committee for Greenfoothills who organized to stop it. The Santa Clara Valley used to have some of the richest and most productive agricultural lands in the world. Most of this has been lost to development. But there are still important agricultural lands down in the Coyote Valley, in South San Jose, and Morgan Hill and Gilroy. For the past 40 years, Committee for Greenfoothills, or since the 1970s, 1980s, Committee for Greenfoothills has been working to protect the Coyote Valley area. And just recently, in the recent proposal that we've been working to stop has been an Amazon-type warehouse and distribution center in the northern Coyote Valley. And this is the southern region in San Jose. All of you know this. It's as you drive Highway 101 between San Jose and Morgan Hill, it's all of that farmland just west of it. It's about 7,000 acres, and it's the last piece of Valley 4 that connects the Santa Cruz Mountains and Mount Diablo Range. If we lose Coyote Valley, large mammals won't live here because they need the ability to disperse into the Mount Diablo Range. So while Coyote Valley is in San Jose, it's actually an area that affects the land up here as well because it affects the species up here. So the recent proposal was a warehouse in the northern Coyote Valley area, sort of like Amazon Prime type, where you could order your stuff and get it in half an hour. And we were very concerned. There was not going to be an environmental review, and it was going to be expedited in about a month. There was not going to be a public process. It was just, let's just get this through as quickly as possible. And that was at the end of 2015 that we found out about this. And all last January, so January of 2016, Alice, who just walked in, and myself organized and pushed as hard as we possibly could. We organized the community, turned out hundreds of people, through comment letters at public meetings, educated the city council. We got the full environmental review process started. The project wasn't expedited. We gave the developer hell. And if any of you saw the cover story of the local section in the San Jose Mercury News yesterday, that parcel was permanently protected by post. And so it won't be developed. And that's thank God for post. It was Committee for Greenfoothills advocacy that we chased that developer right into their arms. And it was really the community that made it possible. So instead of looking like this, what we saw before, Coyote Valley looks like this.
Is that your baby?
This is my baby. So there are still threats to Coyote Valley. This is on Coyote Ridge, so it overlooks all of Coyote Valley. And we're organizing to ensure that Coyote Valley remains habitat for wildlife. We want to ensure that the farmland is protected, and also much of Santa Clara County's water is filtered through Coyote Valley, so we want to make sure that we protect that resource as well. So we're going to take a break really fast, and I'd like for each of you to consider one experience that you had in nature as a child that inspired you. Mine was, I grew up right in front of the Fremont hillsides, and I had a creek about a mile from my house that I ran to with my friends all the time. So think a little bit about an experience that you had in nature and share it with the person next to you.
Well, mine's And I have property in North Duluth County. And we go to, oh my gosh, so we have 5 acres. And luckily, there's 5 acres, 8 acres. There's a pond over there, so it's a little getaway too. And there's another one over here. Here, somebody else that do live there. So we hear but I love it.
The opposite of the peninsula.
Absolutely. That's why we did it. Even to just drive it, it's 3 hours drive. And then we have a reservoir we can see.
Cool. You get to get out. Oh, me? I was gonna ask you some other
Go
questions.
ahead.
Well, yeah. Do I have any?
All right.
Well, good.
I hope,
Yeah.
I hope at least most of you had the chance to share. I hope most of you had the chance to share an experience, or at least hear about an experience. Those are just also special. Would anybody like to share one of theirs? You're getting pointed out.
So my father was in World War II, and they built these homes in Shoreview for the veterans. He bought these homes over there for $4,000. And my sister and I used to spend all our days at County Point building forts out of poison oak bushes. And I had poison oak so often, so for so many years, that now I don't get poison oak.
Any others? Yeah.
Same story, except it was in Pennsylvania, and it's called poison ivy, but it looks exactly like it. And you usually get more sensitive and gets worse as you get reinfected.
Really?
But you are an unusual animal.
That might be something else going on there. Yeah. Oh,
Jerry.
yeah, no, Jerry.
Well, when I was a kid, we'd go down and there was a little swampland down here. We'd go down and catch pollywogs and bring them home and watch them sprout eggs and stuff, and there were garter snakes. Today, that little swamp is Highway 280 where it connects with 101 down by Alamany and in the city. By the farmers market there, and there's probably about 5 million cars a day that go by there. There used to be a swamp where we could catch wildlife.
Well, thank you all so much for sharing and taking that little break. Is there any others that anybody else like to share? Okay. So that's what Committee for Greenfoothills is all about, is making sure that future generations have access to the same or at least some type of experience in nature. Unfortunately, many of the experiences that we had as kids, our future generations won't have the ability to access those. But thanks to groups like Committee for Green Foothills, kids today, almost everywhere in these 2 counties, do have access. But there are still so many ways that we can continue to improve that experience, so that even in the most urban areas, they'll have access to some sort of, awe-inspiring experience in nature. So yes, this is my girl Amelia, and it's not my first experience in nature, but this is a place called Coyote Ridge in San Jose, as I mentioned. And I met my husband organizing wildflower tours up here, and so it's so special to bring her up here, and I'm just, as you can imagine, having a child just gives a whole new meaning to the work that I do. So we're very lucky in this area to have such a vast and varied types of open space for us to access. And it didn't happen by accident. I mentioned a few other campaigns, but there have been countless challenges and victories over the past 55 years since Committee for Green Foothills was founded. Each of these victories came with hours, months, years, and sometimes decades of work by Committee for Green Foothills and also committed citizens. Many of the wild places that you see today, and even just outside of your car window, are there because of Committee for Green Foothills. There is a newsletter on your table of our recent issue, and it's called What You Don't See. And I just love that title because so many of the victories that we achieved over the years are victories that you wouldn't know we had done anything about, because it's just how it's always been. It's because something isn't there. That's the win. You learn in this line of work that the victories are temporary and the losses are permanent, except when wonderful groups like Post step in and permanently protect the land. The challenges grow larger and the work never ends.
Question, but you mentioned Peninsula Open Space District.
Yeah.
How many acres do they have, and do you work closely with them, or you're related to them in some way?
Great question. So my husband actually works at the Peninsula Open Space Trust. So we
Okay.
do work together. Yeah, but outside of that, so the Peninsula Open Space Trust, they've purchased or permanently protected 75,000 acres of land. A lot of that land has been moved over to public agencies so that people can access it.
That's all right here in the two counties?
All right
Just
here.
Santa Clara and San Mateo County?
Yep, yep. And there are other
75,000
agencies as well, like the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District. They've
Yeah.
purchased something like 66,000 acres.
Wow,
So,
in addition to the
In addition to
75.
that, there's been,
Okay.
and I'm pretty sure those are separate numbers right there that they've achieved. Side note, we helped to get the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District founded in the first place. So in a lot of ways, we're their advocacy arm. They are the ones who are stepping in and doing those acquisitions that are so important. We're there when there's a development threat. So that's how we work together. It's an ecosystem, and we need them and they need us. So among the alphabet soup of environmental organizations, you brought that question up at the right time. What distinguishes Committee for Greenfoothills and why are we important? We call ourselves local, vocal, and effective. It's an apt description. So by local, what I mean is we're just in San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. We're not California, we're not Bay Area wide. We're just in these two counties. So we're keenly aware of the goings on in every corner of the region. We do not focus on a particular habitat like bay or forest, but we look to protect all sensitive habitats, farmland, and natural resources. And this includes rivers and streams, baylands, farmland, forest, coast, sorry, it's taking a little longer to move it forward, hillsides and grasslands, and urban green space. More recently, we've been getting involved in the urban green space area to make sure that as we grow, because our region is going to continue to grow, that kids still have access to experiences in nature close at home. We're primarily vocal through our advocacy. So what is advocacy? The fate of open space is often in the hands of planners and policymakers, and the path to approval is through this labyrinth of commissions, councils, boards that all have jurisdiction in the matter. Neighborhood groups, environmental groups, developers, backroom meetings, public hearings, the list goes on and on and on over years and years and years, all play a very important part in this complex process. Committee for Greenfoothills right now has 2 full-time legislative advocates, and for those of you who've looked at our website recently, we're hiring 2 new advocates, both the Santa Clara County Advocate and the San Mateo County Advocate. Our advocates know the goings on. They know about an important meeting in Morgan Hill or Redwood City or San Mateo tonight. They've done their homework. They've read all the documentation. They know who's involved, and they've met with them, and they're ready to go. We also have a team of staff. We're a staff of what's soon going to be 9 who all support the advocates by sending out action alerts, updating our website, putting out our newsletter, turning out the community, providing community education, hosting hikes to connect people to the places that we're working to protect. The list goes on and on. So, to some ears, all of this may bring to mind this idea that Committee for Greenfoothills are a bunch of naysayers to all development, and in an area where we have this huge housing issue. I'm in fact a huge advocate for infill development near transit corridors. Before I was at Committee for Greenfoothills, I was an organizer at the Sierra Club Loma Prieta chapter for 4 years, where my role was to basically help to support good infill projects near transit stations that help to get people out of their cars on foot, and there's a way of doing it right. 99.9% of the time when a project is proposed, Committee for Greenfoothills takes no issue. It's only when it's irresponsible, unwise, precedent setting, where if one thing happens, it then opens up an entire hillside or rangeland. Or if it's a bad process and there's no environmental review in an area where it's obviously environmentally sensitive, where we take issue. and get involved. So this leads me to the last thing I want to say, which is actually the first thing I said. So if you take away 3 things about Committee for Green Foothills, please take away 1, that every kid should have access to experiences in nature within 10 minutes from home. 2, that our elected officials should be talking about restoring nature and fighting climate change with the same energy and fervor as they're talking about housing and traffic. And 3, we're working towards a tomorrow where nature doesn't need protecting and Committee for Green Foothills doesn't need to exist anymore. So how you can get involved, I'll be signing around a clipboard asking for your contact information. Would love to have you on our action alert list. This is a way for you to know the goings on in your community and how you can engage. 2, here for totally selfish reasons. I want you to join. We, we're lean. We have a lean budget, lean staff. When it comes to biggest bang for your buck, last year we protected 2,000 acres of open space minimum. That's just like what I know. Like it's actually much more than that. But let's just say 2,000. 2,000 acres, and our budget's about $500,000. It's pretty amazing right there. And it's every year. Just with this win in Coyote Valley, that 30 acres that was purchased, that's connected to 7,000 acres, which is actually connected to 600,000 acres because it's a wildlife corridor. And that was for $500,000 that we basically kept a wildlife corridor intact last year. So I hope that you join. We have about 1,000 household members in San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. And it's thanks to the people who believe in this work that we can do our work. And also, we have, in the newsletter I passed around, we have an advocacy training program that we put on every year. This is our 5th year that we're recruiting for it. This is not just for people working on open space issues. The Community Advocates Leadership Academy is for people working on both environmental, social justice, public health issues, and it provides a clear understanding of how you make a difference. How to talk to elected officials, where developers are coming from, how they make projects pencil out in the first place, how to organize a team. I have a feeling that there are a lot of people here in Rotary who are, I think all of you, who are invested in community change. And this program is a wonderful way of both learning more about how to do that in a different way, but more importantly, connecting with others, the people that you'll meet in this program you would never have met otherwise. So thank you very much for welcoming me today. I appreciate the opportunity to present a little bit for Green Foothills. I hope you learned something new. I definitely really appreciated the chance to meet each of you. So, and Alice was nice enough to come, so she's one of our legislative advocates on staff. And I'm a San Jose resident, and I know I know about all of our work, obviously, as executive director. But if you have any questions very specific to San Mateo County, she's able to get a little bit more into the details. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Can we take one question?
Where's your office?